What's going on, everybody? How are we doing out there? I hope you guys are doing well. I got a special thing for you guys today. Today, this episode right here is the first interview I've ever done in my life, and I'm very excited to do it here and on this platform and have you guys listening. So I know last episode I told you guys I'm going to start doing some interviews when I get back to Connecticut. Well, it turns out I met somebody who I really just had to bring to the table because he has a perspective that so many of us need to hear and so many of us lack. And that perspective is of a U.S. veteran who served in Afghanistan. The other night when we first met, we were drinking some beers by the pool, and just hearing his stories and hearing his perspective opened my eyes. And I was sitting there with my sister, and we're just telling each other, like, people need to hear this. Because we send our troops overseas not knowing what the fuck is going on over there and not knowing what the fuck happens to them when they get back. What happens when you go overseas and you see terrible things and you maybe do terrible things and you get like completely drawn in by that camaraderie and you have a unit and then you come back and you don't have anything. The skills that you have been taught for war don't apply to civil life. And so many of us lack that perspective. So many of us don't understand what happens when our troops come home. So my effort today is to bring that perspective to the table. So without further ado, this is Kyle Kilgallin. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, brother, we are officially live. First of all, before we get into anything, I just want to say I appreciate you coming out just because I know this was beer talk the other night over a couple beers talking about, hey, I got a podcast. I want you to come on. You got a cool story, all that. And you said yes, and you know how it is when you're drinking with some guys talking about what you're going to do in a couple days. Usually it doesn't happen. But I just want to say I appreciate you coming out, man, and taking the time to come out here and, tell your story. Now, where I want to begin is pretty much where it starts for you. So, like, where are you from? What kind of kid were you growing up? Did you play sports? Just a little background.
So, I mean, where I started, I would say I grew up in just, any typical household with just average family, middle class family and all that. Played soccer, football, basketball, stuff like that. But me personally, nobody in my entire family has ever been military or anything like that. But I ended up getting bribed to join the military by my dad because wow. I grew up as a misfit. I grew up as young and dumb kid coming up and just getting into trouble, whether it be underage drinking, trespassing, racing, whatever it may be.
Which I feel like all of us do. That's like typical.
Yeah, it's just boys being boys, guys being guys, whatever, young and dumb, full of cum, right? So, but me personally, I have an ass load of tickets and stuff like that I ended up getting. And me growing up, I always wanted a motorcycle. And the last time I got arrested for some stupid shit was for trespassing. Dad said, hey, he made me a deal. He cut me a deal. He said, hey, you bribed me. I will buy you a motorcycle if you consider joining the military. And then when he took me out of jail that day, made that deal for me.
He bought you a motorcycle that day?
Not that day, but he cut me that deal that day.
Jeez.
2 days later, took me to a dealership and then bought me a motorcycle.
That was it. You signed the contract.
Signed the dotted line and boom, done deal.
Jeez. So, before, you never thought about joining the military beforehand?
Absolutely not. I was so clueless about the military at the time that I didn't know there was different branches. I didn't know there was Air Force, Army, wow. Navy, Marine. I thought it was all bad guys and good guys on our side and just holding guns. Yeah, I had no idea about the military. I didn't even know there was different branches. But my dad at the time, he worked out at the YMCA with a prior pararescue guy, which is special operations in the Air Force. And that's the whole reason I ended up joining the Air Force, is because he became good friends with him and had me sign the fucking dotted line to join the Air Force to go do that.
What year was this?
2006.
So 6. So, I mean, the war in Afghanistan was going on for 5 years at that point. Was that in the back of your head?
Oh, years. I had no idea who fucking Bin Laden was or the war on terror, like any of that. That all started 2001. I remember I was in high school when all this shit happened. I was in sex ed class, or whatever it was called at the time, but had no idea about any of this shit. And when I went into the first recruiter's office and said what I wanted to do, pararescue at that time, they looked up my background. They did a background check, and they said, no, can't do that. I ended up going through 3 fucking recruiters before I could do anything outside of being a cook or a mechanic, some bullshit like that.
Yeah. So I know we spoke beforehand. So you went to the 3 recruiters, and you ended up getting out to some special forces bases. So how did you go from, or before we get into that, I want to go, like, where was your mindset at, like, when you were joining in? Did you have the patriotic mindset, or it was just like, listen, I cut this deal with my dad, like, I'm gonna do these 4 years, and that was that?
No, absolutely not. My mindset was getting a motorcycle. I had no interest in any of these particular career fields, or anything, but like you hear the ASVAB test, and I ended up doing that. And when I did that, like, the only thing that's in my head is motorcycle. That's it. That's it. Yeah. So I Christmas treed the fuck out of this test, and just went down the list, because it's supposed to take, like, I think it was like 2 hours or something for this test. But I just went down and Christmas treed the hell out of it. And how they test you on the ASVAB test is, I think it's electronics, mechanics, and general, and whatever else. There's like 4 different tests that it encompasses. So me, originally, I wanted to do pararescue, just because, like I said earlier, my dad worked out with this guy that worked at the YMCA, and he's like, oh, yeah, your son should do this, and, yada, yada, yada. Dude, I didn't care about any of that shit. I just wanted a fucking motorcycle. But went in there, took the test, Christmas treed the fuck out of it. Well, in the Air Force, I know this much. In the Air Force
requires the highest scores, right?
Yeah. A lot of people, it's a big myth, but in the Air Force, it's like, oh, man, you got to be super smart to, do anything. It's like, dude, everybody's a fucking dumb in the military. But in the Air Force especially, it's like, bro, I took this test, and I got labeled as open general is what it's called. So when you get labeled as open general, it's like 99% sure you're going to be security forces, which is military police. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, bro, like my fucking record says I shouldn't be police whatsoever. Like I explained earlier, I got arrested this many times, and now you're going to make me a cop in the military. Well, it's not so smart, but okay, we'll roll with it. Let's do it. And that's exactly what happened. I did it. So I went through basic training, and when I went through basic training, I didn't finally figure out what my career field was going to be in the Air Force until the week before I graduated basic training.
Wow.
And that's when they let us know, hey, this is where you're going, this is what you're doing.
That must have been weird, just not even knowing where you're going, man.
Yeah.
Like, especially to taking that leap and not knowing where you're going. That must have been something.
It fucking sucked. So when they said, hey, you're going to be security forces, I'm like, is this like a joke? Like, joke on a new guy type shit? But no, it was just that. And it's like, hey, you're going to be security forces, military police. Like, okay. It's in the same city, the same base and everything, Lackland Air Force Base. Lackland Air Force Base is where basic training is held for Air Force. And then that's the same base where military police training is held. So literally, you just pack up your bags and walk across the street, go stay in a dorm over there for another 3 months, and you go through police training. It's like, man, I almost didn't get into the Air Force because I was, fucking dirtbag. But you're gonna make me a cop now? Like, this makes too much sense.
You probably made a good cop.
Yeah, I was like Denzel Washington in Training Day, but it's like this makes too much sense. Let's fucking roll with it. Like, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be the best cop you guys ever fucking seen. I did that, and after I graduated from that school, from that training, the cop school, security forces, it's 3 months long. Originally, I was supposed to be stationed in Incirlik, Turkey. Incirlik, Turkey is a nuke base. And because of my petty record that I had before I joined the military with all the speeding tickets, underage drinking, trespassing, all that horse shit, I was not allowed to be stationed at a nuke base.
What is that? Oh, a nuke base.
A nuke base. Incirlik, Turkey was my first base, but they denied it because of my petty record that I have before I joined the military.
So what do they think, you were going to get the launch codes?
So then they sent me to New Mexico, Clovis, New Mexico, Cannon Air Force Base, which is fucking asshole of America, where Satan landed when he got casted out of heaven, and it's fucking horseshit. But that's where I ended up because of my petty record, because I had tickets and trespassing and underage drinking.
So
and
you went from Orlando. And where was the training base at?
To San Antonio, to Clovis, New Mexico, to Afghanistan, to South Korea, to all over the place.
So you've been around. Okay. So what was it? I mean, a lot of us think about going into the military. Like, I mean, I had the thought myself. Like, when you were talking about the ASVAB test, one day I took that test just trying to get out of class. Next thing I know, a few days later, I'm called down to the office, and there's Navy recruiters there. But I never ended up doing it. But a lot of us think about it. What was the transition like going from civilian life, just being your average kid, fucking up, doing it, hanging out with your friends, doing whatever you want, to being in that rigid environment, getting orders, structure? Like, what was that like?
It's fuck. It's a whole different. It's a different transition, because like me, I had all these friends that I was like super close to home, but when you join, like me, I was kind of sidelined because I didn't have anybody in my family that I could talk to that was ever military, and kind of get an idea from them like what it's gonna be like. But like me personally, when I went in, it was just a roller coaster, and when you go through basic, whatever, you know these guys for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever it may be, depending on the branch that you go in. But outside of that, you go through tech school or IT, depending on the branch that you go through, they call it different things. You might meet somebody for another 6 weeks or 2 months, whatever it may be. Now, outside of that, even just getting stationed, like your home base, like you meet people, they come and go so frequently that it's like, but it comes down to building a relationship when you get to your home base. So me, where I was stationed in New Mexico, where I was in Afghanistan, where I went through training here and there and everywhere, like I built relationships with multiple people throughout my time. But you build such a strong relationship with these individuals because, like I'm in Afghanistan, and this guy is watching my 12 and my 6. He's watching my front and my back, and this guy that I'm going through training with, and whatever it may be, you just build a strong relationship with all of them. But it all of them come and go. Everybody comes and goes.
That's got to be hard to do.
There is no long-term relationships. There is long-term relationships, but it's like, you might hang out with them for 2 months, but you'll still talk to them for the rest of your life. It's
So when you were over in Arizona, I mean, you said you were in New Mexico. I apologize.
Mexico.
I keep saying Arizona. I don't know why I say that. I mean that general area to me just I mix up. But so how long were you in How long were you in New Mexico for until was Afghanistan the next stop?
So I got to New Mexico after tech school, which is the cop training I went through. I got to New Mexico. I was there for 4 weeks, and then I had orders to go to Afghanistan. And I went to Afghanistan for almost a year.
Hold on, I gotta cut you there though. So like, when you got those orders, was it out of the blue? Was it like something that was expected? Everybody on base was getting orders.
No, I graduated from the cop school, the military police school, and originally I was supposed to go to Turkey, but they changed that up because of my civilian, record. Sent me to New Mexico. I got to New Mexico. I was there for 4 weeks, and then I got orders to Afghanistan. I was in Afghanistan for 10 months, almost a year.
Damn. And do you remember what year that was?
2007 to 2008. I left January 07. I got back April 08.
Okay. So what was your main? So you were MP, right?
At that time.
Now, when you were over in Afghanistan.
At that time.
Okay. So when you were over in Afghanistan, being an MP, what was your daily life like? What would you do like on a daily basis? Your job, or like what were you doing out there?
Hell, as soon as we touched down on the C-17 that we landed on, both the gates got blown up. A bunch of the K9 guys and dogs, they got fucking blown up as soon as we touched down. There was 2 gates that got blown up, but then they escorted us to the prison that we were going to work at and walked us through there. And I just remember, like me, I'm not gonna say I'm a fucking bitch or a pussy or whatever, but I remember specifically when we touched down and they walked us through the prison that we're going to work at. It's fucking terrifying.
It was scary, huh?
As soon as I walked through there, I was like, dude, this is fucking hell.
Let alone a prison like in the U.S., man. But to touch down and have the shit blown up, like there just had to be a switch that just went like.
But this is third world, hush hush, black site. Nobody can talk about. This. This is.
It's Jack Ryan shit.
It's not fucking prison like people think about. You walk in there and it's bunch of detainees fucking kicking at the walls of the cages that they're in and wrapped in sea wire. It's just fucking it was hell. Like hell on earth is what it looked like. Nobody has pictures of this, videos of it, because nobody could talk about
who was
or
in the
any
prison?
of that. All the high rollers, people that dealt with 9/11, fucking Obama or Osama's fucking doctor, his runners, all of that had them at where I worked, and you hear you hear of Buka and Iraq, you hear of Guantanamo Bay and Cuba, you hear of those prisons, but the prison I worked at, hush hush, can't talk about it. Oh my goodness, fuck you. Bagram Theater Internment Facility, BTIF is what it's called. They have a brand new facility out there now. But where I worked, no, it was fucking hell on earth. CIA, they made a fucking movie about it. It's out there.
Yeah. So essentially you were like a prison guard out there.
It's exactly what I was.
Now that
I worked as a prison guard, I worked as an escort, I worked as fucking Overwatch when they're showering, or whatever you want to call it. I worked multiple positions.
So when you were guarding, did shit ever pop off? Like it? I mean,
all the time.
That's like
the time.
A powder keg in there, huh?
All the time. Me, I would escalate things. So if they're in the fucking showers, while they're showering, I would stick my finger through my beanhole of my pants and say, "Why small? Why small?" Yeah, just to fuck with them. They chuck bars of soap at me, and
Yeah.
They would start riots based off of this shit.
I mean that environment that you're in, man. Like there's got to be an
yeah.
us versus them. Like there's
mean,
an us versus them in national prisons. Like when you're dealing with terrorists and organizations like that. Like how was I mean actually I want to touch on that. Like what was the us versus them like? Like it must have been really really heavy, huh?
yeah. I mean, I built relationships with people that were in the prison. I fucking hated people that were in the prison. You know, I learned Pashto. You know, a lot of people think, oh, Arabic. You know, go to the Middle East, right? And you learn Arabic. No, Pashto. Leila, Datalatsa Zamabigin. Sweetheart, come here and sit on my penis. You know, I would learn stupid shit like that. I would just learn stupid shit like that through the prisoners because I would spend 12 plus hours a day every day with the prisoners.
Now,
like, hey, how do I say this? You want to learn this? You know, English, you know, whatever it may be. We would just trade off. And then at the same time, I would have to escort these guys from Bagram to Kabul to Kandahar to other places in Afghanistan, throughout Afghanistan. And when we're doing that, fucking, they would be hog-tied up, blindfolded and everything. I'd get a good relationship with the pilots and have them just roll on the back of the fucking helicopter, plane, you know, C-130, Chinook, Black Hawk, you know, whatever we're flying on. Have them just tossing and turning in the back.
Yeah, I hear you, man. So when you're going through that, like we talked about the transition between civilian life and being enlisted, is it like dude, like the shit you're doing out there to me sounds like fucking Grand Theft Auto. So like when I hear so much shit about the veterans coming back and having trouble readjusting to civilian life, it's like that must be hard, man. Because out there, I mean, you said you touched down and shit is getting blown up. The two gates are getting blown up. Like there's got to be a switch in your head. Like holy shit, like this is the Wild West, you know? So like, did you find? I mean, what did you find that it was tough to transition out of that? You know what I mean? Like that you're like playing fucking GTA out there, and you come back to America and like how like what was the transition like? I mean, in that sense.
I mean, initially going in and all that, it's like, oh, dude, I signed up to do this, right? But like when I got out, trying to transition, become a civilian, and all that again, I still struggle today, but I had a super rough time because I had to go through therapy for fucking 10 plus years. I was inpatient in hospitals for PTSD and this and that and the other, and couldn't talk about this or that and the other. So it's like, dude, like you want me to get help and you want me to talk about things, but I can't talk about this, and it's like it's a big mess. So I don't know how many people out there in the military experience things like that, but like me personally, having to go through these inpatient hospitals for PTSD, anger management, anxiety, fucking chemical dependence, you name it, I had to do all of it, and it's like, well, how do you expect me just to jump back into society like nothing ever happened? Like I just go back to Publix and start stocking shelves, whatever. Like, no, it doesn't happen like that. But
I mean,
what the military, what they do, you get free medical care, you get free school, you get this and that and the other, and like, I utilize that. I went to school, I got a fucking degree, but I have so many failed relationships. Like I've lost both my kids. I've lost, relationships and shit like that, like because of, all my military experience. And it's like, well, the school shit, the medical shit, that none of that matters, none of that matters. I utilized it. I used it, but I don't have my kids. I don't have family anymore. Like I'm just on my own, and I'm not working a relevant job or anything based off my education. Like none of that shit matters.
And when you're telling me about like the stuff that you do, it's like the skills that you learned out there. You're telling me you forgot to mention this, but you're sniper trained. You're a specialized sniper and also a medic. That's right. Is that not right?
Well, yeah. After I went to Afghanistan and I got fucked up, I got jumped at the prison that I worked at. I got fucked up. When I came back from that in 2008, I joined. It's called Dagger, Deployed Aircraft Ground Response Element. Tried out for that, made the cut, went to the school, Herbert Field, and then outside of that, went through specialized training for medic training and sniper training. But outside of that, I went to fucking assload of other training.
Yeah. I mean, you were showing
Storm,
me all
special
the degrees.
tactics for operational rescue and medicine, and I went through Mystic, I went through Raven, I went through an assload of training. But doing all of that, like the whole reason I did that was because I got left for dead at the prison that I worked at, and I didn't want to be associated with people like that anymore.
But so when you say left for dead, what exactly happened?
I got jumped. There was a huge riot that broke out. So BTIF, Bagram Theater Internment Facility, BTIF. They have two sections of the prison. It's called K-span and main floor. Main floor has mainly like detainees that have intel that we need. So like Bin Laden's doctor and stuff like that we had there. And then K-span had all of your murderers, the ones that set up suicide bombs and roadside bombs or whatever, stuff like that. So K-span, they'd put a bunch of assholes like myself down there as prison guards. And me in particular, that night, this was Halloween 2007, I was down there and I had kilo 16, 17, or no, I had kilo 15, 16, 17, and 18. Those are the 4 cells that I was responsible for that night. And those are the last 4 cells in that particular prison.
How many heads in the cell?
20.
Jesus Christ.
20 in each. So me, I was all the way at the end of this particular floor on the prison. And if you could picture a hangar, aircraft hangar, and just look straight down it, I had the last 4 cells of that prison. And every night, they do a random cell search. Random cell search. They'll take all 20 out of one cell, and they'll do a random search. See if there's any contraband inside the cell or on the detainees. And they'll take those detainees, and they'll escort them to the shower area. And they'll lock them in there while they conduct their searches. Me, that night, I was just a cell guard. The escorts are the ones that conduct the searches. But they had a huge fucking riot that broke out that night and lasted about 3 hours. And then when they finally escorted those detainees back to their cell, they threw one of the females down and a couple other escorts down, kicked the shit out of them. I walked out, looking at what's going on, and oh man, I'm trying to yell at anybody I can at that point, but
so it was just hold on. So they knocked the escorts down. At that point, what happened? They were free. Were they were still tied up? Like what was up?
They're tied up. So what they would do when they escort them outside of their cell, they'll tie 10 of them up to cable strand. So you'll have 10 on each strand. You'll have one escort in the front, one escort in the back, escorting those 10 detainees, and they're all linked. They're all handcuffed to this one strand, this one cable. But when they were escorting them back to their cell, they took that escort in the front, which happened to be female. Her name was Airman Jackson. Tossed her down to the ground and fucking started stomping her head in.
Wow.
And then the whole damn prison started rioting again. Or that floor, K-span. K-span started rioting it again. And I poked my head out. I was in the breezeway at the time. The breezeway is where the rec yard is and where all the water and everything is for us to, fill up the trash cans, the trash barrels to, give them water. Poked my head out and she's getting her fucking ass whooped. And then the other 10 detainees. There's no escorts on them. They ran away. There's only one way in, one way out in Case Bend. They ran away. So I ran at that strand. Superman punched one of them, and outside of that, I don't really remember much. But
the adrenaline, man, just takes away
Yeah.
your memory.
it's just survival mode. But everybody there got awarded the same thing I did. It wasn't until later that they were talking about, oh, we're gonna put you up for a Purple Heart and this and that and the other. But that I didn't even know what a fucking Purple Heart was at the time. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But like me going in and doing that and preventing fucking detainees from escaping and shit like that. Okay, whatever. I had no idea at the time. But the people that ran away got awarded the same that I did. They got this coin, they got a pat on the back, they got the certificate, like,
Yeah.
oh.
The ones who left you behind.
Yes. So, after all of that was Halloween 2007. After all of that, came back February 2008. That's when I decided to try out for the whole Dagger program. I want to go work with people that aren't going to leave me for dead. Be a part of something bigger than this horse shit.
Yeah. Now, did you get the sense when you were in the military? I mean, everybody always says, like, being a part of something that is bigger than yourself. When you went and joined Dagger, did you find that? Like, did you feel like you can lean on the brother on your left and on your right?
Absolutely, because when I did that, it was, best of the best. And then outside of the Air Force, now I get to work with Army, Special Forces. I get to work with Rangers. I get to work with combat controllers, pararescue, whatever it may be. All of the best of the best. Like, people that are fucking, they say gun-ho, In the military, people will understand that. Gun-ho, like you're high speed, low drag.
That started out, I was listening to a podcast, Gung Ho, that started out in the Vietnam War. That's what they used to refer to the Vietnamese, man. They were, I think it's a Vietnamese saying. So when we're going from the Dagger program, is that right when we say a Dagger program? What does that stand for again?
Deploy Aircraft Ground Response Element.
Okay, gotcha. So when you were in that program, where were you at? Were you going around? I know you mentioned South Korea. You were going around special Air Force bases.
The school was Herbert Field. Went there. South Korea, I went there in 2010. A lot of people heard about the recent incident that just happened, like, I don't know, it was like 3 weeks ago, where North Korea blew up a facility in South Korea.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness, are we going to go to war with them? No. So every single year, there's a exercise, or actually there's two exercises that are held in South Korea along with U.S. forces. One of them called Full Eagle, which I was involved in 2010. And I happened to go there at that time, 2010, with two Special Forces teams and another Dagger team. We were there for real-world incidents. So while everybody else was playing exercise, cops and robbers, we were there in case something actually happened. Because during that time, a lot of people don't know, North Korea actually shot a torpedo at a South Korean warship and killed 42 sailors.
Wow.
But it wasn't proven, so it was never put out there on social media. Social media wasn't that big then. It was MySpace and all that, but on the news and social media and stuff like that, nope, it was never talked about. But now, 3 weeks ago, oh my goodness, they blew up this building in South Korea that is never used. Are we going to go to war? It's like, no. Every single year, they hold exercises and they threaten us, America, and South Korea, saying if you go through with these exercises, we will attack. And they'll make strategic movements and everything. We'll see it on our satellites. And they never actually do anything. But in that particular year, in 2010, they killed people. Nobody ever heard about it.
Which is interesting. I mean, I've had a few friends out there. One of my best friends, Kazim, was actually out there. He was in the Army. And it's just a weird environment, man. To, like, have that DMZ, the line, they're on both sides. Like, it's, like, tension's always high, I guess. But as far as your war experiences, or not war, well, yeah, exactly, war experiences, things like that, one of the things that we touched on earlier was the aspect of you coming home. And when we spoke before, it was something like, yes, you may not have had injuries that you could see, say a broken leg, scars, things like that, but there's got to be some kind of problem going on when our vets like you are coming home. I mean, like, I looked up the statistics. The VA publishes an article saying that every day 20 veterans commit suicide.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that you went to three different
campaigns.
Yeah, and then when you came home, you went to 3 different doctors trying to receive help. And I mean, if we can, I think one of the main things and one of the most important things that we can bring to this discussion we're having today is that, like, the issue of mental health. And, like, when you're in the military, is it when you're active before you retire, pretty much, is that spoken about? Like, what do they talk about that when you guys are serving? Like, is it something generally, like, they give you seminars about it, or do, like, you guys talk amongst your peers? Like, is it even a thing?
So I mean, when you're active and you go through things like this, like me in particular, when I got jumped at that prison and everything, and all that happened, it's like, dude, I don't want to lose my gun. I don't want to lose my career. I don't want to get help because I don't want to lose my livelihood. Because as soon as you go to mental health, then boom, you're done. They're gonna take your gun. You're fucked. You're getting pushed out. And I avoided that for years and years and years and years. It wasn't until 4 years later that I got forced to go to mental health on base. And they're like, "Oh, you're Kilgallin." I'm like, how the fuck do you know me? Like, "Oh, you know Sergeant Pace, right?" It's like, "Yeah, I deployed with him." He's like, "Yeah, he told us about your story. We've been waiting for you for about 3-4 years now."
Are you fucking serious?
And it's like, well, yeah. Do you want to share your story? I'm like, sure. So, fuck. Here we go. And that's when I went to 3 mental hospitals after that. But
so listen, I mean, before we move on, man, like, we gotta unpack that. Like, that's honestly insane, bro. That's fucking insane.
That's how it happened.
First of all, the first thing that I took from what you told me was that there are, like, stigmas and stipulations to where, like, if you go and try to seek help, you are going to be reprimanded for that and have things taken away from you. So
I didn't try to seek help because I knew that it would push me out of the military, and then what am I going to do for work?
So it's like,
so I avoided it as long as I could. And then when they forced me to go see help, they said, "Oh, you're Kilgallin. You go based off last names. My last name being Kilgallin. Oh, you're Kilgallin. We've been waiting for you for about 3-4 years now. You want to tell us your story now?" It's like, sure. How do you know my story? "Oh, you know Sergeant Pace. You were deployed with him in Bagram, Afghanistan, right?" Like, "Yep." "Okay, sit down in a fucking leather chair and tell us your story." Told him my story, and hey, you're going to this mental hospital tomorrow in El Paso, 6 hours away from where I was stationed.
What the fuck?
That was the first stint.
So, I don't even know where to start with that, man. Like, excuse me. So it seems like it's like a don't ask, don't tell type of thing with mental health. Like, it's like they just want to, they'd rather ignore the problem for you to get out. I mean, how long were you in? If you don't mind me asking, how long were you in total?
5.5 years.
5.5 years. So, I mean, how long was it until this stuff started? Like, when if you didn't have those reprimandments for going to speak about...
The mental health stuff started 2008, 9?
So
or 2009?
So, basically, you were 3 years in, something like that. You had 2 years left to do. So, for 2 years, you had to deal with that shit on your own and let that shit fester up inside of you and not even get the help that you need until you fucking go and somebody calls you in and says, "Hey, we heard about you."
Yes. And then you're dealing with, your own issues.
Of course, man.
Me, like I told you earlier, I'm in South Korea, and I found out that my fiance at the time was pregnant, and then 2 weeks later found out she's cheating on me, and shit like that. So it's like, you have so many things that pile on top of each other that you try to deal with, but people, nobody's there to support you. You know, family, friends, doctors, you know, whatever it may be. Nobody's there actually to support you. They're just like, oh, let's get the fuck over it. You know, it's life. You know, blah blah blah. Like, fuck you, dude. You know, it's just crap. It's crap. So me, like when I was in and I got stationed at my first duty station, which was Canadian Air Force Base in Clovis, New Mexico. I was there for 3 weeks. Got sent to Afghanistan. I was there for 10 months. When I came back to Clovis, New Mexico, I was like, I just spent almost a year in Afghanistan. Like I've been in Afghanistan longer than my duty station, right? So when I came back to Clovis, New Mexico, it's like, fuck all of you. You know, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
As soon as I stepped off the bus, like, fuck all of you, you know? I just spent a year almost in Afghanistan. I spent 2 days in New Mexico. And here I am in New Mexico, like, just fucking send me back to Afghanistan, dude. Like, fuck this. Yeah. So when I came back, they ended up demoing the dorms that originally that I had lived in. So they packed up all my shit for me and moved it to a new dorm room. So I didn't even know where the fuck I lived when I came back. I had to get escorted to a new dorm room.
Wow.
And they had this fucking horse shit sign hanging on the handle outside of my dorm saying, you know, welcome home, Defender. Like, fuck you. I remember I was on the 3rd floor. I tossed that shit off the balcony. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I don't know anybody here.
Yeah.
Like, everybody I know is back in Afghanistan, or, you know, the people I served with, and they're all gone. They went back to their bases. I came back home and said, what do I do? What do I do?
That's weird to me that they allow you guys to move or leave units and put other units together like that. Like, when you went over, you were with a bunch of other guys from other units. Why? Like,
yeah, from California, Georgia, fucking all over. And it's like, I came back to New Mexico. I was like, dude, now I don't know anybody, you know?
Which
I made best friends with fucking alcohol. That's what I did. Oh, my goodness, Kyle, you're such a bad individual. Why would you do that? Like, well, fuck you.
Yeah, man. I mean,
I don't know anybody.
At the end of the day, we all got our problems, man. Especially like this, being alone like that, and like going through the shit that you've been through. Like nobody can fucking blame you, dude. You know what I mean? Like the shit that you've been through, shit you've seen. Going back from Afghanistan and going back alone, not having any of your boys there, especially when you're in a unit. You know, you're in that prison in a unit. You gotta have each other's backs, like you gain that sense of camaraderie, and then you come back and there's nothing. You know, you probably come back, you got these shitheads pressing you, shit like that. Like, it must be hard, man. I mean, that sense of camaraderie is like the only way I can connect.
I made friends with people in the prison, and it's like I'm looking at the enemy dead in his eye, but I made friends with them. It's like, hey, I'm giving you fucking Afghani bread. I'm giving you grapes. I'm giving you chai tea. I'm giving you this and that and the other. Like, and I'm shooting the shit with them for 12 hours a day. It's like, dude.
Yeah. A lot of things like in wartime that we see, we try to, I mean, for a lack of a better word, we try to brainwash our troops to like use words like krauts, jabs. Yeah. What was the word like for when you were over there in Afghanistan? Like, was it like raggies? What did you guys use?
Oh no, that sand.
All right, I get where you're going now, but the reason why I'm asking that question is because like when we send our troops overseas to war, we gotta indoctrinate the troops to think it's us versus them, and one of the ways of doing that is using those terms, racial slurs, like you were about to say, like the sand. N-word was one of the terms that we use, and like I totally understand like where you guys are coming from when you're out there, but like, was it tough for you, or did you take that shit home with you? Because I could see how you could, man, because when you're out there going through those experiences, I get it, but like, did you take that stuff home with you?
To me, it's evolution. So like when I went in, I considered myself at that time young, dumb, and full of cum, right? So going in at 18, 19 years old. You don't know shit from fuck. You really don't. I don't care who you are, but you don't know shit. Um, it's all evolution. But going through those times and experiences and everything at such a young age, you build such a appreciation for the rest of the world. So like me, when I talk to random people and all that, a lot of them they had never left the city that they live in currently, Detroit or Minnesota or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But going through the military at such a young age and then going through all these experiences, it's a eye opener. You get to meet people from all walks of life and go around the globe and just meet people from different points of views. It's you have different religions, different points of views, different opinions, different everything, and being able to just talk to them. You don't have to relate to them, just being able to talk to them and just have an open mind. It helps you grow individually. So,
Like, and I'm glad you brought that up because, like, even when you were guarding these prisoners in the cells, who, I mean, were from Afghanistan, they were the enemy. Did you see?
They were
did you
either
see that they were like
Taliban or Al Qaeda.
Did you see that they were like? Did you show them humility? Did you see like even though that they were the enemy, did you get glimpses of like they're just humans?
I made friends with a lot of them.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, frown on that. And I tell people about that because I'm not really allowed to speak about the whole experience there and everything. But people that I have talked to about it, they frown upon it. They look at me, in a negative aspect because I say I built relationships with detainees that were Taliban or Al Qaeda. The prison I worked at, they were either one of the two. But hell, I had more of a relationship with Taliban, Al Qaeda prisoners, detainees, than I did some of the fucking guys I worked with.
Yeah, absolutely. That's. I mean, I think that's just a great point. I mean, at least the fact that you did go over there and serve, and yes, you. I mean, I don't know, man. We can look at a glass half full, glass half empty. I know the shit that you took home with you is so much harder. But at least you got some experience out there. Which, I mean, I guess we can say for our troops. But one of the things that I think we got to address, man, is this issue. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you onto this podcast, the main reason was that I'm just ignorant, man. I'm ignorant to the things that you experience out there. I'm ignorant to the things that you got to, like, experience when you come back home. I really don't understand, you know what I'm saying? Like the challenges that you face as a veteran coming home from literally a fucking war zone. And I think so many of us gotta understand that, man, because it's not just a battle overseas. Like, you take that fucking battle back home.
And there's no simple answer or solution for that. It's us, like the common saying goes is, you can wear my shoes, or walk a mile in my shoes, and you're not going to figure the shit out. But,
I mean,
but me, like everybody, every single person on the planet has their own story, right? And especially in the military. So you have all these different branches, different career fields and everything in the military. Everybody has their own story. And it has nothing to do with just military. But me in particular, I feel like when I went through all this shit, it was during a lot of heated moments. So you had Saddam Hussein, who, they dug him up from the floor. You had Osama bin Laden. You had like all these major events going on all at once when I was in, and different presidents being elected, white and black, and this and that, and that and that. And it's like, dude, can we just calm down? Can we just simmer down? Like,
as far as politics go, bro, like I honestly want to stick away from that. Just as far as we're going with the conversation. Well, one of the things that
against all of it.
Yeah, because it's nowadays it's weird, man. We live in such polarizing times where
I'm against all of it.
It's like it's so hard to have the fucking conversation. So it's like honestly, right now in this moment, like I want to talk about like your experience as far as like in the military. So one of the questions that I wanted to bring up was, you know, your father offered you that motorcycle.
Yes.
Would you do it again?
No. Well, it's a hard question. So I like me personally, I appreciate everything that I have experienced in schools and stuff like that I went through, training and all of that. 110% appreciate all of it. I try to look at, you know, the glass half full, not half empty. That's just me. But
I mean,
in an overall sense, it's yeah. I've learned a shit ton, but is that worthy? You know, sacrificing having a relationship with family, friends, any of that? Because I have zero relationship with my family or friends. I don't have any friends. I don't have family. You know, it's just me. Yeah. So I've just had to live a life of solitude at this point because of shit like that.
And listen, man, I mean, you bringing that up, I'm glad that we met, because even though, like, it's weird how life works as far as, like, I just met you the other day, we're having these conversations, we've been chilling for the past few days, and, like, at the end of the day, like, I gotta leave in 2 weeks, like, I'm moving back to Connecticut.
Yeah.
And same way you said, like, people come and go
And I
in
told
your
you,
life.
people come and go.
People come and go.
Come
it's the
and go.
same fucking theme. So it's like,
yeah, here you go.
It's fucking tough, man. Like, it really is.
It is.
I understand where you're coming from. And I tell you, that's got to be a hard fucking thing to deal with.
For me personally, you know, because I have 2 kids, you know, 2 different moms. For me personally, you know, doesn't matter, blood, you know, family. That's a whole another story. They divorced when I was in the military, my mom and dad and all that. But like I said earlier, I'm in South Korea, and I found out that I was having a kid, and then, you know, a week later I found out I'm having back up. I'm in South Korea, found out that my fiance was cheating on me.
Yeah.
What do I do? I'm in South Korea. I can't do anything, right? But
how did you find out? Don't tell me it was some fucking. Don't tell me it was like that fucking movie, bro. Don't tell me it was what the fuck is that movie, bro? Desert Storm.
No.
Jarhead. Don't tell me.
No. I was spying.
Okay.
But
listen. Okay.
No, I was spying. I'm in South Korea.
Yeah. I understand. So.
But yeah, I was spying through AT&T and found out she was cheating on me, and from there I went batshit crazy, and I ended up getting sent back to the States early because I went batshit crazy. I broke my right hand in South Korea. Got sent back to the U.S. early, almost going to war with North Korea, but I got sent back to the States early because of that shit. So. Forgive and forget. That's what I try to do.
Yeah.
Went through that, and no, absolutely not. Didn't work. Guess what? Moved here twice now to be closer to that same kid.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here right now to be closer to that same kid. And that mom to that kid would tell you I'm the biggest dirtbag in the world and this and that and the other. And fuck her. After me, she married an army guy, had a kid with him, they divorced, and now she's married to a chick. So, please tell me how much of a fucking dirtbag I am. Let's continue.
Yeah. I mean, listen, man, that's like a whole different topic.
Yeah, I know. When we're going down that road.
That's a road. That's another road.
Let's go.
But where I want to bring it now is just I mean, we talked about would you go back into the military again? I mean, your answer was no,
Absolutely.
but you
Right
would.
now. Right now.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Because I was gonna say, like, a lot of the times in life, man, we think about, we come to the fork in the road and we think about whether, like, say you join the military, your other option was not to join, but you don't know what was down that other road, man. Like, you have no clue. You know what I'm saying?
I don't care
like,
about the other road.
It could, yeah.
Me personally, it's I want to be part of something bigger than myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be proud of what I do, and it's something bigger than me.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be military, but military, yeah, you can find it there. And ever since I did the military stuff, that's how I have felt.
Yeah, and I can't even imagine
because of the experiences and everything I have been through.
Yeah, and we touched on the sense of camaraderie. You know what I'm saying? Which is I can't even the reason why I can't even imagine what that shit feels like leaving it is because like the one sense of camaraderie that I had in my life was like playing high school football. You know what I'm saying? You have your team, you have your brothers, you're playing football.
Yeah.
Leaving that shit was hard. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, I see you. It's like nothing to you. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's absolutely nothing. So that's where I'm gaining that perspective. Like, I can't even imagine being in the military and serving overseas and doing that shit together and then having to leave and having none of them there with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that it's a void in your life, man. Like when you don't have that sense of camaraderie.
And yes. You saying yes. People defending you and then people running away from you. It touches you the same way.
Yeah.
So like I said earlier, being in a prison and people running the other way while I'm getting jumped by our enemy, or people defending me when I'm getting shot at, whatever it may be, it's all the same thing. But like you said, it's yes, way different camaraderie is relationship and everything that you can have compared to playing sports like soccer or football.
I know it's 100% different. That was the only thing that I can connect to, though. So, like, other than that, like, with the experience that you had coming home after serving overseas, was there something, like, other than, understand you had the issues with your exes and things like that, but as far as what the government could have done for you.
When I came home from Afghanistan, I had nothing. I didn't have my exes. It was just me.
It was just you?
It was just me.
Now, at that point, was there something that you...
I was sitting in a dorm room by myself, and it's about 6x10 dorm room. Go buy all the alcohol I could and drink myself to sleep.
Wow.
That's all it was.
That's a fucking scary place to be in, man.
I had no help.
Yeah. There wasn't like any classes you can go to, somebody you can reach out to, a counselor on the base or some shit like that.
Zero.
That blows my mind, man.
Zero.
You have a fucking 3 high school counselors in a fucking high school of 500 kids, but on a fucking military base, people coming back from active duty.
Zero.
You don't have a counselor, nothing like that. That to me blows my mind, man. It really is.
You can do it, but like I said earlier, I don't want to fuck my career field up, right?
Yeah.
I go reach out for help, and they're gonna take my gun, and there goes my career. That's what ended up happening. That's exactly what happened.
Wow.
But
so, I mean, if you think about like your whole experience, is there something that like you would recommend, man? Because like, of course, you said it earlier, like me and you having this conversation. Maybe, it's not going to change much. You know what I'm saying? But, like, if you could, like, wave a fucking wand or some shit, like, what was one thing that you could have reached out your hand and, like, say, like, hey, I needed this in this moment? Like, what is it?
If I'm talking to anybody out there that could change their experience, I would say look at your career options. Because I looked at multiple career options. I was pararescue, TAC P, and then ended up getting thrown into fucking security forces, and nobody wants to do that. But look into this shit And don't go open general in the Air Force. Do what you want to do. Point blank. Do what you want to do. That's it.
That
Point
sounds like
blank. Do what you want to do.
Yeah, that sounds like rules for life, man. Not only the fucking military. That sounds like what you got to do in life, man. Just do what you want.
That's the only thing I can think of. But do what the fuck you want to do.
That's it, man. That's it. And that's actually something I've been preaching on the show.
I got fucking bribed to join the military, so.
Listen, Kyle, I mean,
Force, whatever.
Kyle, at the end of the day, I just want to say, man, like, thank you, brother, for coming here, for sharing your experience, sharing your point of view, your perspective. Like I said, it means so much. People, they got to hear this and gain that perspective of what our veterans are coming home to and from, the experience they go through, the shit that they have to deal with, the lack of help that they have. And I feel like I was ignorant, like I said, and you coming through here, man, and being open, like, it takes a lot of fucking courage, bro, to sit here and do what you just did. And I got to tell you, man, I appreciate that shit. And I know everybody that listens is going to appreciate you, man, because it means a lot, dude. It really does.
I hope so.
And we'll see. We'll see, man. If I get anybody, like, asking or something, I'll put them towards you, man, and we'll go from there. But other than that, man, thank you so much for coming on, man. And
I thank you for having me.
That's it, brother. Good night. We're out.